What's up, guys? Welcome to the latest episode of the Always Race Day podcast. I promise when we start doing this and we get in the routine again on our normal scheduled days, I'll have the numbers memorized again. That was the whole point at the start, was I didn't want to do that the first few episodes we did, and then we ended up referencing numbers. So I think it's 141 or 142. But huge shout out before we get started, the Karl Auto Group. They are our presenting sponsors. They do a lot for us, and they people that are able to get us up and down the road all the way through racing season. So working on stuff, starting to prep for 2024, but super excited for the things to come in the future here. I didn't even introduce us. I'm Connor Ferguson with Josh Olmstead and Caleb Sloha. Sloha?
Sloha, yeah, you had it.
Sloha, all right. I got to stop second guessing myself. Anyway, guys, I am so excited because a guy that, I've cheered for their team since their inception, and I've cheered for this guy longer. I've just always been a fan of their team on what they've been able to build over the course of this season and years past, and it's been one of the best seasons ever for this guy. And for them to end up in victory lane today, my favorite driver going to victory lane, I will never trade that. So excited about what happened today. What do you guys think? I was talking about Antron Brown and Ron Capps. Who are you guys thinking that I was referencing? Sorry about that.
See, I knew it was some sort of ploy to try to get us to say something.
I needed a reaction out of Caleb, and I got on the Zoom way too late tonight. I was running late, forgot my backpack. But normal week, Caleb's in my ear, who are you talking about? Chase Elliott sucked today, Connor.
Well, and he didn't win, so I knew it wasn't that, but. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see where you were going with that.
I was going to try to connect something in with, I've always been a fan of that numbered car. try to complicate the Jeff Gordon 24 into it somehow. But no, a lot of stuff happened this weekend, and we'll get to the Chase Elliott debacle and all that in a sec. William Byron wins Watkins Glen, but one of the worst Watkins Glen races I can remember ever. And all these people too, by the way, that, they run around F1's 2 hours. They always limit their races by time. And it makes so much more sense because of people's attention span these days. That race sucked. This is the worst race I've seen in my life. I probably shouldn't. I can't say that. That was hyperbole. I'm sorry. But holy cow. No one could pass once you get up to them. There's one passing zone on the entire track on a road course. It was just rough.
Well, I think we've kind of seen that road courses with this car have struggled to be good. So
they definitely took a step back, but it never seemed as bad as it was to me today.
Yeah, and unless your name is SVG on a Chicago course, you just can't pass with this package.
Right.
And this car in particular.
I think Chicago's a little bit different just because it's just not a normal road course either. But yeah,
Chicago is better than the rest of the road courses. I'm ready to call it my favorite road course on the schedule.
Yeah, it's different. It's hard when you've got a guy who's just that much better. Obviously you'll be able to pass no matter what. But yeah, it's just a conversation we've had multiple times where they've got to figure out the package a little bit. And honestly too, I think you just had the 24 had a really good car today, and you had a lot of guys I think that just were off their game as well.
I should probably get to this before we get too deep into the race. So what we're doing with our podcast network is we're not expanding. Nothing's really changing or anything right now. But this is going to be an asphalt only show, and then we'll have a dirt only show. I don't know how that's going to work on the titles on the episodes. So you guys forgive me for sounding like a TikToker, but sound off in the comments or send me a DM on Twitter and tell me what you would prefer, I suppose. As far as I'm not going to come up with a new logo and names for all the shows yet until until we figure out what we're doing for 2024. But I can say I hope and think that you guys will like it. And at least if you only like one or the other, you don't have to do that sorting now, and that we can kind of take care of it for you.
I think it'll be a good thing for easier for people to find their content and keep it more organized for sure.
I'm just going to start going on the Dirt Podcast and just talking mad shit about the NASCAR podcast.
There you go.
Just have like this ongoing internal feud about each podcast, but it's actually just the same people running both shows.
And it's just Connor complaining. I'm the only one saying anything about it on either show. Like, you guys hear the shot they took at us? And it was just something I said 3 days earlier. I think, we can do something with that. That'll be something.
Connor on the Dirt Podcast keeps talking about how bad the guy that keeps talking crap about the Dirt Podcast.
That damn elitist with the fox hat on the damn asphalt podcast. Every week, man, he just looks down on us.
The damn Connor guy on that Dirt Podcast keeps talking about hockey.
I'm gonna have to figure out which show to take my other niches to. It'll all be just fluent. I think you guys, if you're a fan of both, just listen to both, and it won't. You'll get more content out of us, is what you're getting, because we'll have more time to kind of establish things and talk about things, and we can kind of give everything the same amount of time each week. Although to start this with that NASCAR race sucks ass.
There's still a lot to talk about, though.
Yeah, I can fill 3 hours on talking about anything, but holy cow. I mean, just like it was an hour and 58 minutes. It didn't feel like I was relieved of any extra time of my day. I was just sitting there waiting for them to pass anyways. And they weren't going to do that. So maybe we just watch the same thing for another 30 minutes and then complain that the races are too long. I don't know what that part of it is, but I'm just sick of having to watch a race and go, these cars aren't built for this track.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that helped, is that it was a shorter race. I mean, it took longer for them to process tech inspection than it took the race to run. So, I think at least with races today, it was short. So at least you've, don't feel like you've wasted an entire day.
Yeah, and it's a little better. I don't know. We do need to talk about Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson and all that stuff. So I remember when I was a kid so Alan Gustafson is the crew chief for Chase Elliott now, obviously, if you don't know that. But when I was a kid, he was crew chief for Jeff Gordon. There was a whole season where I wanted him fired. I was 12, 13, something or the other like that.
2012. Maybe
that, yeah. Okay, Rain Man Josh over here. He's telling me it was 2012. I'd trust him. That would fit the timeline.
Yeah, it was because that was a year that Mr. Boyer and him had an incident, and which was ultimately the years of frustration built up.
Yes, and boy, was that a fun day. Still wish they would have let him go one-on-one, because Jeff wouldn't have let up. That would have been funny. Clint Boyer wouldn't be Clint Boyer today if he got his ass kicked by Jeff Gordon. I might be the only one in America that thinks Jeff Gordon's winning that fight, but Jeff Gordon lifts. I'm just letting you know. I stood next to him 3 years ago, and there's no way he's gone down in progress.
But I'm not fighting Boyer in the state that he was in. I don't want to fight a fourth grader that was in the state that Boyer was in at that moment. Boyer was going to just not give anything on that, so it would have not been good. But it was yeah. I'm not going to get into it because I'll anger a whole bunch of people. But
oh no, I kind of want to hear it now.
It was a very sad moment from a champion of that caliber. So.
Oh yeah, I'm an anti-purist, so for you to say that actually does anger me quite a bit. At least you know who you're talking to.
I mean, you have this legend of the sport and who has won multiple championships and is on a team like Hendrick, who is very suit tightened up, tie, all that stuff. But then to go right rear somebody into the wall like that, take out other cars with you, and you about complete. Well, I will say you took out Boyer, who was in the championship run, and you about took out another car that was in the championship run. it was bad.
And you're saying Jeff Gordon did this?
Yeah, Jeff
Yeah, I
Gordon.
don't remember it like that. So my client's not speaking on any of that stuff. I just like the passion after the race, Caleb.
Oh God.
We'll have to do off-season shows about that stuff where we just get really pissed off, like
the
I would
NASCAR
do-
classics.
Yeah, I would do one on the playoff when Gordon got the extra playoff spot.
Yeah, that's something.
I'm
too.
very passionate about how that was the right thing to do.
I agree.
I won't just give you guys non-answers where I say I'm not talking about it for the sake of the show, but we'll actually hop into shit, and that'd be fun to do if we have time. So no, but so I wanted. There's a year where I want to fire Alan Gustafson. This guy sucks. He has no clue what he's doing. A couple years later, I kind of figure out like, okay, he probably knows what he's doing a little bit because he hasn't been fired yet. So I might as well like not hate this guy. And
the 2014 year saved him.
yeah, and obviously he ends up winning a title with Chase in 2020, and yes, yeah, and like all is well in the world, and Hendrick has this powerhouse team. Today he left Chase out on the track on a reserve tank for 3 laps at Watkins Glen, and Chase runs out of fuel in the middle of the race.
Yeah, listen. Here's the thing that you got to remember, though. I mean, people can't be on their game every single time.
Well, no, I agree. What I kind of want to hear from you, Caleb, is like how viably how does this happen? Because that is one of the harder things to do. It just feels like one of the more obvious screw ups to catch. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something like you miscalculate or you misjudge how much you're what.
I did hear that there was potentially that the fuel pickup did not work as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that can affect that, and you trust that. I'll say it's almost like I'm surprised that this stuff kind of doesn't happen more often because like you have so many moving parts on those cars that you're expecting like, oh yeah, we can go 3 more laps on fuel, but you're expecting like 8 different parts to like work exactly how you think that they're going to work, and it's surprising that it doesn't happen more often, that you just kind of have a weird glitch in the system. And yeah, it was kind of a badly calculated risk, and it just didn't work out. Like I said, there's just kind of, it seemed like a lot of people off their game, and the 9 team really all season has just not been able to like put a cohesive season together.
Yeah, and well, what's surprising, and to go back to your point of why it doesn't happen so often, this is going to sound like a sarcastic slate at NASCAR. It's directly the opposite, but it's the pinnacle of fendered asphalt motorsports, right? Like these are the best guys in the world at this discipline of racing, just like IndyCar is for open wheel, just like the World of Outlaws are today for 410 sprint car racing, right? Like that's just where the top guys are at, where the top teams are at, where everyone that knows what they're doing is there. So that like there's safeguards in to prevent stuff like this. There's computer data, there's sheets that are supposed to catch errors before they happen. And for it to happen, to a championship team that has proven itself recently, I sure hope 2020 is still recently, but it also feels like a long time ago, ages ago. But they've proven themselves that obviously they're in the best equipment. For it to happen to them and happen as regularly as we've seen kind of weird things happen to this team this year, just feels like nothing's buttoned up and something's got to change. And that if it's Alan Gustafson, it's him, but if it's someone else, it's someone else.
But what is it? I mean, do you kind of, and it's hard internally, it might be a different thing. Internally, maybe they are thinking, okay, this person's the problem, or that's the problem, or whatever. Or you could just look at it and you say, okay, Chase has been a problem this year with his incident and then getting suspended.
No. Getting injured off the racetrack is not an incident. That's not. Is that what you're talking about?
Getting injured, yeah.
But that's getting injured. That's getting injured off the track in a freak accident. That is not an incident.
I understand.
I'm just doing some PR for us and for Chase at the same time.
Still part of the reason he's not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's I
What
guess
I'm saying is,
you can't hold it against them though, like you
no,
can.
but if you
Whoa.
let me talk,
You're right. No, I've been doing that tonight. You're good. Go ahead.
if you look at it and you look at their season, you can go through and say, okay, maybe it's this person that's a problem or this person a problem, whatever. Or do you just look at it and you say, let's just throw this year away because you had a deal where your driver got injured, then your driver got suspended, you had a crew chief make a bad mistake, you might have this person here, there. I mean, do you just look at the year as a whole and you say, we know that we're better than this. This was just not our year. Let's just scratch it out and we move forward next year. And then I think if you have the same issues next year, then you need to look at like, okay. And I don't think you go through the entire year. I mean, if you get through halfway of the year and you're having the same problems, then it's time to start making changes.
Yeah, and to follow like with that, I personally don't think Hendrick is willing to pass up on Alan Gustafson, but the potential for probably who's Bowman's crew chief?
Greg Ives.
Grave Ives. Yeah, they could maybe
No, wait,
alternate
whoa,
those.
isn't it Blake?
Is it not Ives anymore?
I met Alex's crew chief. His first name is Blake, and I want to say his last name is Harris, but I want to make sure.
Well, he's got a new one this year, if I'm
It's
correct.
Blake Harris, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say
The only
'cause Greg
reason I
Ives
didn't
sounded
say his
right, but
last
that was
name-
last year's. I'm pretty sure.
The
Yeah.
2023, yes, is Blake Harris. It was
Okay.
Greg Ives retired last year.
For
so
some
that-
reason, I
Yeah.
had Lewis in my head, and I didn't want to say Lewis or Harris or pick one or the other. But yeah, I
That's-
met Blake down in Tulsa this year. He's a fantastic dude. Very nice guy.
I'm bad at like the crew chiefs, so
I have a master document where I had him good and memorized when I was updating it a lot, and now I haven't updated it in a while. I gotta catch up on it. But
Yeah, I just think like maybe even just a change of environment for him, just for the fact that I mean Stuart Haas did that this year as well. Obviously nothing has really changed from that. However, I just think I don't foresee Hendrick willing to give up Gustafson.
I don't know. I mean, it launched Stuart Haas into what might be a manufacturer change, but I'm not reporting that. So
listen,
I will still keep that, and that's not like that's a worst kept secret type of deal. It's pretty easy to read into what people ask and stuff like that. I'm telling you guys I'm not reporting it, but I will keep we'll give you stuff that we can't tweet out on the podcast. Like it won't be like a premium type message board thing like we have at Fanatic, and obviously that's not a great example because it's a pretty decently known thing. But yeah, I'm excited to see what that does for them. We were talking about Elliott and then Blake Harris, crew chief. Okay, well, the first thing is, I mean, like, does Chase want Gustafson next year? That's my first question. I don't actually know the answer, but if it's a yes, then keep him for sure. I'm not even advocating to fire him if it's the other thing, but
yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's like there's either internal things going on where they're saying, okay, it's a problem with so and so, or they're just looking at it and they're saying we just need to scratch off this year and look at, moving forward for next year and, getting back to how things were. Because everybody has those years, right? Like everybody just has
everybody
years
has those days. Yeah.
Yeah, Hannah Montana. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing because you look at like the last 6 weeks and you say Chase should have easily pointed his way into the playoffs, and he's 200 out now. Like
He was not racing for stage points, and I was shouting on my television, and I didn't text you guys, but I texted one of my other racing friends, and he goes, "Calm down, Connor. You're reading way too much into this."
It's like, and that's people have been giving Denny Hamlin crap this week because, like, weeks ago he chose Chase Elliott pointing his way in over Michael McDowell getting in, and everybody's just like crapping all over Hamlin. But it's like what I said a couple weeks ago. Is it possible that McDowell did what he did and Chase doesn't? No, but it wasn't likely. The
Yeah.
likelihood was Chase was going to have decent finishes and point his way in, but that just has not happened. And so that's really what the team has to look at and be like, okay, we had the injury, we had the suspension. Obviously, that's why we were where we were. But like in the last 2 months basically since he came back, that where have the issues been there? And that's what they got to figure out for next year.
So yeah, I have like a wish list of things I want if Chase doesn't make the playoffs and doesn't win at Daytona, or if he gets taken out by someone trying to flub the playoff standings and they create an extra spot for him, which is also a viable thing that could happen. We've seen that. We have an example of it.
No, I don't
Also
think they would. I don't think he would be the one that gets bidded in.
I'm also cheering for that.
I feel like, like maybe like Ty Gibbs or AJ Allmendinger, who are 17th and 18th in the points, would probably get their bid in over Chase Elliott.
No, but if Chase doesn't get in, I want him to just take the microphone and just be unapologetically him and just talk about everyone who has wronged him over the years and everyone he's tried to or actually wrecked during a race successfully, and then take ownership for it and call NASCAR's bluff. See how many penalties they're willing to give you, your most popular driver who just missed the playoffs. I would love to just see that battle, because I do think it's a bit ridiculous that, if these guys are honest anywhere after the race, like, yeah, I took him out, like they'll get penalized for saying they wrecked him on purpose. I think it's kind of bullshit at this point, and I'll get to that later in this episode as to why. That's one thing. The other thing, Caleb reminded me of this, that if the season's lost, we'll just throw it in and wait till next year. Well, Travis Pastrana's given Chase multiple rides in Nitro Rallycross cars. I want Travis in the 9 car for one more race this year. And then Chase could take his spot for a Nitro Rallycross race, and they could both abandon the championship for the betterment of motorsports. Okay, Caleb, that's fine. You can be against diversity. It's okay. Caleb, you're on mute. You've been on mute for...
I didn't even do that. My mouse was just on it, so it must have just accidentally clicked it. Diversity, when we're putting another just white dude in the car. And...
Yeah, diversity of driving skill. Sorry, I can find another driver that's going to miss the playoffs, and we can put someone else in his car too.
Yeah, I don't know how Napa would feel about that necessarily.
Well, then let's get Chase accidentally hurt for 1 week. I have ways around these ideas, man. No, but going into Daytona, it looks like Bubba Wallace has a 30-point lead, and the broadcast today was talking about it like it was a all said and done thing. Like everyone below the cut line needs a win. Well, okay, if Bubba's not in the top 10 in the first 2 stages, and I have no reason to think that's how that race is going to go. And it's Ty Gibbs who's the first one out, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so if Ty goes and sweeps the first 2 stages, well, that's 20 points right there.
Yeah, it immediately cuts it to 12 then.
And we've seen more crazy things happen. I don't understand why we know how the playoffs work and then pretend that we don't. And we just go to these, the broadcasters just kind of go to these like simple, like, yeah, basically everyone outside the cutoff needs to win, nothing else about it. Simple explanation. And it's like, man.
Well, so here's the demise to Ty Gibbs. That he is battling a fellow Toyota driver. In the way the manufacturers work, they're most likely going to be by each other most of the race. So if Gibbs is at the front, Wallace is probably going to be at the front as well. So that kind of leads against him in the fact that with the manufacturing deal.
That's fair.
Ty Gibbs would like to have a discussion with you about Toyota teamwork.
Valid.
Caleb, why don't you because you watched it live, I've just watched clips, but take me through the Xfinity race and how everyone ended up being pissed. Go right up to the point where everyone on Twitter is complaining about Sam Mayer, and then I'll take over with my Ty Gibbs rant.
Well, I think the people that are complaining about Sam Mayer are off base.
I completely agree, but it seemed like it was all of NASCAR Twitter. It was every tweet that I'm refreshing my For You page, I'm refreshing the other feed, and everyone is complaining about Sam Mayer and not the kid that fought the other dude that you're complaining about with his damn helmet on.
Yeah. Well, so I actually didn't get to see that live. Josh saw it live, but I mean, we pretty much know leading up to it, Gibbs kind of put Mayer in the wall, and obviously those two have had their issues in the past.
Right.
But
So there's someone made a whole YouTube compilation of their like run-ins on the racetrack, and it goes back to like an ARCA East race at Dover.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So they are already angry at each other, and we know Mayer is going to have a different feeling about it now because Gibbs isn't going for points or anything like that. So they're going through the S's, and Gibbs just kind of pushes up and makes contact with Mayer. They get into, or well, Mayer gets into the wall, and it was mostly a racing incident. I feel like Gibbs probably got in there a little too hot, but it was just them going too wide in the S's at Watkins Glen. But I certainly understand Mayer's frustration of like, you've got this bad relationship with this guy. He's not in here for points, and now he just fenced you. And so what?
Well, like the crazy thing is too is Mayer in his interview goes, "Oh, like anyone else, I'm like doing the same thing, like it was an accident or whatever." But going back to the radio conversation before the restart, where the crew chief said, "Do anything you have to do to win," and he goes 10-4. That kind of
No,
correlates it a
Josh,
little differently.
hold on, Josh. Think about why you're hearing Mayer say that after the race and why he didn't admit to that comment.
So
Right.
he doesn't get
Because-
put on the fucking back burner.
Exactly, and it just makes your drivers look like liars to the race fans that are going to ultimately cheer, especially if the other party deserves it when you take them out and bump and run them.
Well, here's what I'll say too.
You take that, like that honesty and that ability to be honest, you take away 10% of the driver's personality after the race. That's also, in my opinion, why Chase Elliott's such a stick in the mud in front of the microphone. You can tell he just doesn't want to say anything to piss anybody off. He just goes into that mode. I don't know. But yeah, go Caleb.
Yeah, but I mean, to me too, though, like if you're telling me do anything it takes to win the race, that just means I'm gonna send it down into turn one to try to get spots. That doesn't mean payback, but
Right,
I
it's implied.
I feel like it was payback. I feel like even if he didn't go into there with the mentality of like, oh, I'm spinning him, it was all right. I'm going for the win. I'm also mad at the guy in front of me. I'm gonna send it in there deep.
The garage needs to just get like a phrase that means like I took him out on purpose, but they call it something else. Like if they just bulldog or something like that, or I just Tasker Phillips it into the corner and I got out of it okay. And everyone knows what it means, and NASCAR can't penalize it because they're not coming out and explicitly saying it.
There you go.
That's what this race team alliance was built to do. We need to have these meetings and get this comedic stuff out there.
Oh, geez. I don't know about that. So then after the race, of course, Gibbs has, in my mind, made a fool of himself with his comments. And again, like
you're talking about this week, not previously.
We're talking about like since the Mayer incident.
Like this Mayer incident or the Martinsville one? Are you talking about the Martinsville one? Okay, from then to now.
But that was the thing is like after Martinsville, his comments that he made in the interview seemed super tone deaf. And what's funny is everybody knows he's super PR'd. You ask him a question, and the only thing, I mean, you can ask him what he thinks about rainbows, and he's literally just going to tell you his team was great, God is great, and thank you, Monster Energy. It doesn't even, what was it? It was a couple weeks ago that the interviewer kept like asking him questions, and he just wouldn't answer. All he would give you is the same 3 bullet points. And I saw multiple people talk about that. So he's so hyper PR'd. It's kind of frustrating because he does then have zero personality. But then when he gets into these scuffles, he makes comments that are just super, super tone deaf. And after Martinsville, it was, about how Jesus was booed too and all that. And now
That's right,
this
he
time,
was.
yeah, and now this time he's going and he's making comments, well, I'm racing on Sundays and he's not. Okay, Mayer, I'm sure, would love to have his grandpa own one of the best NASCAR teams.
I completely agree. And for reference, Jesus didn't race on Sundays.
Yeah, but I did make the comment today when we were sitting there watching ARCA. I said, you know what? Sam Mayer may not race on Sundays, but Dale Quarterly is racing on Sunday. So,
did you watch that today? How was it?
Boring.
God, it was bad. Did you see?
Okay, I want to petition ARCA just to move that to the night. Like, it's always like smack dab same time as the Cup race today, and it's like you have two dirt races, spotlight them.
I was telling Josh and Elliott this today too, though. Could you imagine if NASCAR in the Cup level with the guys that have all the money in the world and all the resources in the world, could you imagine if NASCAR Cup Series said, we're going to schedule 2 races in one weekend halfway across the country from each other? The Cup guys would just not. They would not. They wouldn't show up. And you've got these guys in ARCA pulling this. I mean, you had Venturini guys this weekend that raced 3 times. They had crew members that flew from race to race and participated in all 3 races this weekend.
And it was Watkins Glen, right?
And then Illinois State Fairgrounds.
Yeah,
so from basically from New York to Illinois.
So yeah, that's a longer trek than any World of Outlaws trip all year.
And in 2 days. Plus, not to mention, again, you're talking about ARCA, so a lot of these guys are just doing.
They're all losing money, right?
It's literally a pickup truck and an enclosed trailer.
But you're racing. It's not like you're going to a quarter-mile banked oval and then another quarter-mile banked oval. You're going from a road course to a dirt track. There is just, you can't even take the same car and just go. Sean Corr can't just load up after Watkins Glen and start driving over to Illinois. It is insane to me that's how the schedule works.
That's why I love ARCA. If you just love it for what it is, and I don't love that decision, I'm not trying to defend it. This is more of a message to Chris Williams explicitly. But there's so many wild little intricacies that happen, and you can look back and it's Jeff Gordon faced Steve Kinser in an ARCA race and they got pissed at each other and fought. That's crazy. And that didn't happen, obviously. I just threw 2 names out there, but you wouldn't be surprised, right? If you read on an old K&N race from 1998 and all of a sudden that's who's in it.
My example from today, so they had a video posted on Twitter of a very young Frankie Muniz, who I'm sure was at the Daytona race or whatever, and he was all talking about how he was wearing Kenny Schrader's jacket, and he was talking to Kenny Schrader, and then he was out battling Kenny Schrader at the Illinois State Fairgrounds in an ARCA race. I mean,
the drivers, when they do their post-race tweets, I think that really helps people kind of understand what your mood is after that. Is it RJ Houston that is on Bubba Wallace's crew? I think JR Houston. Thank you. And he tweeted about how monumental of a day it was for them. And it's the impact didn't, and I heard Bubba's interview and I loved Bubba's interview. I thought it was great. I thought it was cool that he called Scott Dixon to ask him about driving on road courses and stuff. And Dixon had to tell him, dude, shut up. You're where you belong. You're obviously talented. Those stories are cool, but I didn't realize the impact until JR tweeted his post-race thing. And when drivers do that, especially sprint car guys, especially guys with lesser platforms do it, I think it gives fans an understanding of what you're feeling. And I love that Frankie did it today and quote tweeted it with that video clip that someone else posted with the context in the original tweet. And it kind of here's a full circle recap of my day that took me 15 seconds to read. And I can understand how cool that was for Frankie Muniz, and also be man, the kid that was on Malcolm in the Middle, liked racing, loves Kenny Schrader, and he got to face him today. That's sweet.
Those are the stories that, I love out of ARCA specifically, but those are the stories that I just love in general that I feel get missed sometimes. You look at Elio Castroneves and Tony Kanaan. Those guys grew up when they were 6 years old. They grew up together and were friends. And I mean, what are the odds that they both grow up to end up in the same realm of professional motorsports and are both successful too? I mean, it's not like one entered in and was a starting park for a couple years and then fell out. I mean, they are both very successful, and
You have to have a lot of things bounce your way.
yeah, and one didn't go racing F1, one didn't go, like they ended up in the same spot after being friends since they were very, very young. And there's a lot of things that have to come together for that to happen. And so, yeah, like those stories, the Bush brothers are the same way. I mean, what are the odds that you have two brothers grow up similar aged too, and they both kind of end up on the same path and are both very successful at what they were doing.
Well, Sawyer and Tasker Phillips will have you hold their beer for you.
There's other examples.
I know. I had to give a positive Tasker one after using his name as code word for take anyone out on purpose whenever you want to. He doesn't do that either. Like, that's not what I was referring to. I had shown my grandmas before I got over here. I had dinner with my family. I was showing them our Knoxville stuff. So they enjoyed that. One of them could not get over that his name was Tasker. She thought I said the word pastor. It took me 17 times spelling it out for her. It was bad. But no, fantastic people that surrounding Always Race Day and myself and all you guys. So I'm excited for what's to come with that. I kind of have punted on my Sam Mayer, Ty Gibbs rant. I think Caleb got it all for me, quite honestly. I did assign Josh on a special assignment. Josh is going to be our Alex Palou attorney.
Hello.
Fuck. I can't even pronounce the guy's name right, and I'm doing lawyer words. Well, he's going to be our expert on the Alex Palou lawsuit, deposition, and briefcase case. I just threw out 3 lawyer words for you, Josh.
Yeah, so I did find an article that gives a very detailed description of the entire situation.
I don't want you to read it word for word. I just want you to give me the understanding. Yeah, say it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
So Alex Palou signed contract to be reserve driver for McLaren for F1. In said contract, it stated that he would race for them in 2024. Now he is basically slashing.
He's signed contracts, right?
Yeah. So he's basically trying to slash that deal.
Here's the problem. So in him signing that contract, it sounds like McLaren paid Palou money, basically the initial start of his. Yeah, and then they've also started funneling, F1 development money to, get him acclimated, and they've started putting in funds to get him ready for F1.
Yeah, it's not free to test. Nothing in F1 is free, right? Like that's pretty obvious, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a lot of things that
the training and stuff.
You gotta buy his special snacks that he likes, and but yeah, there's a lot of money.
Chicken fingers? Is that what you're talking about?
He likes only the green M&Ms, so they've been paying a guy for months to sort through all the M&Ms. But, so what's interesting is in the 2 lawsuits that were filed, it sounds like they are the type of lawsuit that was filed is a cash only reimbursement lawsuit. So they're not
just looking for money out of them.
Yep, they're not.
They want their money back, essentially, that they put to invest in him.
As in, on one side, you guys are like, oh, Connor's going to find a way to trash this and make it about F1. Yeah, damn right I am. That's the only side I'm taking here. They got enough money. Yeah, I get they feel screwed over, but they just want his money. They don't want him to drive for him. They don't care about driver talent over there. Don't pretend like they do. If they did, he'd be on a plane over there tomorrow because they gave him too much money and said, you're out of your IndyCar contract tonight. You're not winning this title, and we're taking you now. They don't. That's the whole thing. I would also like, if either of you guys know any lawyers, I'd like to countersue that. 2 lawsuits for that is stupid. I get that he signed 2 contracts. That's overkill. I want to sue them for over-suing my buddy Alex Palou.
Don't break promises. Read contracts thoroughly.
I'm not signing anything, by the way. Oh, and I should say allegedly. This is all alleged.
I'm trying
Clear
to
that
look and
up.
see if so. The one is against Palou, the other is against his racing entity.
Okay. Well, that still feels like overkill to me. I think we have a case here.
I'm just looking.
I'll reach out. I need to reach out to any Uwazurike's lawyer. He's going to try to blow open this guy from the Iowa DCI about the gambling investigation, which I would love to see that too.
The hard thing is there's obviously the minor details to this situation, but all three parties essentially are declining to comment. So,
Right, because at this point, it's a lawyer's words against everyone else's, and anything you say can be put into the case. I get, yeah.
And at this, with ongoing investigations, I know there's a lot of logistics that you can't discuss as well while a case is open.
They should call UPS.
Why is that, Connor?
Because they know logistics. It was on the back of a race car for like 6 years. Never knew what the word logistics meant, but I saw it on the back of the race car when I was 13, and UPS knows them, so. That's the weirdest slogan ever. I was Iowa basketball, let's be mad again, and then UPS, we know logistics.
I just want anything in the situation to go against Chip Ganassi because he about hit me on his scooter at Iowa.
You can't hold that in the back. Like Devlin DeFrancesco and I would now. There was like 30 minutes where I was like, I want to punch that dude in the face. He almost hit me with his damn scooter. You can't. You gotta let bygones be bygones. And John, by the way, if you got hit by Chip Ganassi on a scooter, not to disparage your life and your accomplishments, but that'd be a top 20 thing to ever happen to you, right?
So that was what my first thoughts were. I was like, I about got hit by Chip Ganassi.
Yeah, at least it's cool. If I say I about got hit by Devlin DeFrancesco, I have to explain he's an IndyCar driver, and then what team he races for, and then how good he is.
Well, so the whole deal was it because there's obviously just Noah and I, but I heard him beep behind me, so I stepped to the side, and he proceeded to have to slow down enough, so he started to wiggle the cart. And that's when it wiggled towards me, and I had to step back even more.
Wait, was it one of the box
No, it was an actual moped.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it'd still be funny either way.
Yeah,
I think you falling over the box a box scooter kind of thing that carries all the team's equipment and knocking half of it over. That'd be like Josh falls into Chip Ganassi has a bunch of illegal parts on their box cart. Like that. That would make me.
Oh, whoa, look at this.
We would have done numbers on that podcast. Yeah, make sure you look for that next time we're at Iowa. But no, it really interesting things in that saga. And how many drivers have signed 2 contracts that you guys know? I can't remember it ever happening. It's one of the weirder stories ever. And the fact that he's going to end up racing with Chip Ganassi and this is from the background I have on what they're asking for in these lawsuits and how he's driven this season. But the fact that it is going to be Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou racing together for the next 5-6 years down the line, whatever it ends up to be. Major win for IndyCar, major win for Chip and everybody else involved. That's as long as it comes out like that. I mean, if I was Chip, I'd just front the money and just say, all right, take this, whatever. I don't know how much money they're asking for, though. It's probably a lot more than they should be. And that's probably the whole reason it's a lawyer.
I mean, I'm sure Chip can't be real happy either, though, that
No, you have to be really dumb to sign 2 contracts. I don't know who told him to do that, who advised him that that's a good idea. You have to be really damn stupid because you can't race for 2 cars at the same time.
Yeah, it's so hard because you want to be like, oh, let's just let it be and not talk about it because it could be a distraction, but this dude still proceeds to grow his points championship lead. So maybe it's a distraction to the team, but him as a whole seems to be doing just fine with the situation.
Yeah, oh yeah, he figured out how to handle it last summer. I think that's why he didn't win the title last summer.
Yeah.
He's got it down pat now. Real quick, and when I said you can't drive two cars in the same season, I just meant any two cars that happen to one of them be an F1 car, because it's the only series that wouldn't let their racers race outside the sport. So Kyle Larson, he's going to race 15 vehicles next year. That's a fake number and a hyperbolic estimate, but we're still going to do that, and we're going to celebrate it over here in the States. If you want to watch one guy in one car all season do the same damn thing every week, go watch Formula One. I did want to give a shout out to Antron Brown and Ron Capps, two friends of the show that took down the Brainerd Nats wins today in the Top Fuel and Funny Car classes. I think Antron's like third in the Top Fuel standings, and Ron Capps leads the Funny Car standings now. So I'm amped for that. Damon couldn't be on to talk drag racing. I should have texted him just to make sure, but he usually doesn't like the late shows. We're going to try to do the dirt show Monday night for Tuesday morning release, and then again Wednesday night for Thursday morning. And that's kind of going to be the lineup. We'll do the post-race kind of NASCAR talk today on Sunday night, and then the others to be released. So the podcast will kind of come out on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I don't know. I think repetition helps people know when our stuff is going to come out, and I think people like it that way. If you like it sporadic and just want it, and we'll do emergency episodes of stuff hits the fan and stuff like that, but leave your comments and give us some feedback of what you want to see with that type of stuff. But that's kind of my plans laid out, at least at this moment. And yeah, my best friend won a drag race today. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, guys.
Oh, you're still on this?
I was at Eddyville on Saturday. We've gone to that World Fuel Altered Nationals for 15 years in a row now that I've kind of race fan vacation there after Nationals. And aside from the two guys in the press box, and not even the two guys in the press box, there's an older one and a younger one. Older guy was fine. The younger guy was more worried about the center blocks and the center lane of the drag strip than the driver's safety. I thought he was kind of disgusting and stupid, honestly. But everything else about Eddyville I love, and love the people down there. Our guys at Nitro Madness lost in the finals, so that kind of stunk. But it was like the guy who won ran a 386 and they ran a 392. So we saw a damn good race at the end. And it's always over in like a flash of your eyes, and you're like, damn, that day's already over. Like it feels like 5 minutes ago we were out here drinking and complaining about how hot it was. So I had fun there. How was Hawkeye Downs, guys?
It's pretty good.
Yesterday was steamy, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a sneaky hot. Like it got hotter as 5 o'clock got closer.
It was just sticky as heck. But yeah, Friday night we celebrated our champions, had final races, and then did our annual party on the track with all the drivers and everything like that. So that
You guys have a party on the racetrack?
Yes.
Yeah. So after all the races, we have all the drivers bring their cars out. We have all the champions park in Victory Lane, and we do interviews with them, pictures, everything like that. But then the fans can all come down and get candy, get autographs. Of course, there's some drinking that goes on down there, and it's a real good way to kick off the end of the year. So that's what we do on Friday nights.
I think I'm going to take that idea straight to Knoxville.
Do it. I'm gonna be real honest. I took it from Iowa Speedway.
That's awesome. No, that's fantastic. Have I ever told you Brian Scott gave me a beer when I was 19 in the Iowa Speedway infield?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
can we talk about this?
Yeah, it's statute of limitations, right? I think we're good.
Oh God. But yeah, so
it was after the race, and we were doing a post race concert, and he was like, "You want a beer? Let me go get you one, dude." And he just thought I was a cool guy, and I think he's like a damn cool guy. He was fantastic to talk to. Didn't find out I was not 21 until the end of that conversation, I promise. So if anything, I'm the only one who can get in trouble here. But
it was cool though. Yeah. So Iowa Speedway did that though. I don't know if you remember, but like their last race of the year, they invited the fans down for like music and some games, and
I think a little bit. It was always dictated by who we were going to the race with. Does that make sense? So, like I kind of remember, but I don't at the same time.
I feel like it was the first couple years after NASCAR took over or whatever. But so yeah, that's pretty much where I took it from. And we had already, before I had gotten to Hawkeye Downs, they did that as like a intermission thing. And I just said, hey, why don't we, put it to the end of the night and then just, try to make it a big, deal. And it's my favorite thing of the year just because I think it's a great way to just cap off the end of 17 weeks of grueling short track racing. So
Dude, someday, Caleb, I'll have you along with some of the 10 days of Knoxville, and you'll understand why I drink till 6:30 in the morning the second that event gets over every year.
Yep.
I love it. I hope someday I can get down there. It would be better for our website if I went up to Jackson this week and talked to people up there about sprint car stuff, or I didn't go to Eddyville and race fan with my dad. It's just kind of been this tradition thing. And I know I'm the biggest, just because you've been doing something for so long doesn't mean you should keep doing it. It just feels weird to even think about not going there and seeing that event. So when if our friends ever get out of running that race car and do that, then maybe we won't go, but hopefully someday it works out that I get down there for that final weekend. I want to, that's sweet. I would love to experience Hawkeye Downs' biggest nights of the year.
Yeah, so and that's Big 8 is always a really big one, but then we're working on trying to build that ASA Midwest Tour night. We just struggle to get crowd for that for some reason.
Do you have a kick-ass name for the race?
This year
Yes.
it was the Hawkeye 100.
Oh, no. How about the Hawkeye Smackdown?
Someone
you can just write smack and Sharpie on the logo and cross out the S.
Oh god! Someone said it should be the Hawkeye Hundo.
I like that. Because I call Justin Henderson Hendo all the time, and no one knows who the fuck I'm talking about.
But yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I obviously love to have the super late models there. It's always a really, really cool thing for me. And then we also had the Mid-Am stock cars. There was 25 of those, which was super, super cool. They've
That's
been
what
up and
Joey
down.
drove, right?
Yes.
That's what Joey won in?
Yep. So it's basically like a sportsman, but then they're a little bit more built for the touring and stuff. And so yeah, to have 25 of those was super, super awesome. And they've put on some great racing the last couple of years that they've came. So that was super cool. And then we had a Legends race as well.
And
Limcool won that, right?
Yep, Danny Limcool ended up winning it. Jeremiah Davis led. He led all the way until the white flag, and coming out of 4 to take the white flag, he just bobbled and pushed up the track, and then got passed by 2 others in the last lap. But
the only reason I'm smiling about that is because he looked like he was smiling in victory lane afterwards, and I think that's really cool because you can tell he really eats the driver. Josh is just laughing at Jeremiah. I'm gonna run that. Oh no, he wasn't. Maybe he was eating.
I was picking up something. On the
I thought you were laughing and you had to go off the screen.
No, I was really sitting there.
Jeremiah
was in shambles as it happened.
So Lemcool and Davis are good buddies, and
because he had Castle Motors on his suit, right? If I saw.
So here's the deal. So Danny Lemcool is good buddies with Landon, and so the cool thing was the night was sponsored by Castle. So what was funny is Danny Lemcool, sponsored by Castle, ended up winning, but he passed Jeremiah Davis, who is a Castle employee, to win the race. So it was kind of a funny thing. And Danny actually said after the race, he goes, Jeremiah's going to need some therapy, but it's he did good. It was really close. And yeah, unfortunately he just bobbled coming off of 4, and that was that.
Jeremiah's got way more years ahead of him. I can't wait to see what next season turns in. How'd he do points wise? I do want to know that. We should get him on the show and then
he was finished 9th in the points, right?
Yeah, I think he was 9th, and I don't think he did the full season. So
They're ninth with skipping races with an incident, as Caleb would call it.
No.
I'm just doing the Chase Elliott bullshit.
I was gonna say the Saturday race wasn't a points race.
I can't even be like a sarcastic Chase Elliott fan because Caleb will just look at me like you're stupid. Like, shut up, dude. Hey, if it helps, Chase Elliott's the hardest driver that I try to defend on this podcast. Like it's not. It's easier to defend like Graham Rahal, Club Rahal is on the rise. The stock market's rising on that. I so wish you guys would have seen the podcast I would have done. I would have found a way to drug myself out of bed on Sunday after Nationals to brag to Caleb about Graham Rahal's IndyCar win. But it's gonna come, and it's going to be fantastic.
We'll see what happens.
All right, it's a good stopping point. I think I really like this format. I think we're less rushed on here, and let us know what you guys think of it. And the dirt episodes coming Monday night, Tuesday morning. So appreciate you guys. Thanks to the Karl Auto Group for being our presenting sponsor. If you're interested in a partnership or sponsorships with us, my DMs are open on Twitter, and I will give you my number first thing as long as you tell me that's what you're looking for, or my email address as well. So reach out. Don't be shy about it. We'd love to be able to help you, and I love sponsors that are involved with us and like to have an impact on what we do as well. So let me know if I can help that, and we can help you guys make that happen. And if not, it's all good. But I appreciate y'all for listening, and we will see you Tuesday morning.